Thank you. So, how are you doing? I found great. A lot of people are here. I'm really surprised. But at the end, I think you saw the title and you thought about it. Yeah, I think I have pain with my components. They take too much time for development. So you're really right here. Um, Basically, there's one key fact, and I was really thinking about my pain was what is really slowing us down if we develop components? And the answer is it's quite simple. At the beginning, we're starting really at a small code base. So we have small components, we have a small application, we change something in our component, it takes maybe 2-3 seconds, everything is changed, we refresh the page, so everything is done. But what happens if it's getting bigger and much bigger? So you're reaching a point where you have an enterprise application. Then try it again. You know how long it takes. So if the components are getting much, much more complex, that's the big problem. And with huge complexity, there's another problem coming. Imagine you have now a really huge code base and the bug is coming or a new feature. So you need somehow to simulate this feature, to reproduce a state, because you want to test what you're building and you want to see it. So there are really different ways. One way is you have a state management, you're using Redux, you're firing your actions that you reproduce your state, and then you reproduce it, you change something in your code, what happens? Rebuild, page is changing, oh my god, my state is gone. Okay, I have to go. Firing my actions, now I have my state. The other option is I'm just quick changing something, my services, giving a mock back, and then you figure out, okay, it's working good, and then I made it. I have the new feature. I fixed my bug. Okay, let's commit, push it, creating the PR, and then, oh gosh, I committed my mocks. So I have to revert my commit because I have to remove my mocks, have the original code with the original codes again, the backend. So this has basically happened to me a lot of times. That's why I recognize this problem. And the next thing I already talked a bit about, the rebuild time and the bootstrap of an application. So if we have an enterprise application, I think even already at some point, middle big applications, if I change something, it depends on what I'm changing. If it's just a variable, it's still okay. But if I'm changing a bigger declaration, then just take a look how long it takes just to rebuild it. And then the bootstrapping of the component, it takes of the component. So of the application, again, it takes a lot of time because it's refreshing. And this is for me, this was really the biggest pain point, just to add some new features or to fix a bug. So I was really thinking about how can I improve it for myself, just to get more productive, to create just quicker new features. So, and the answer is quite easy. But before I will give you the answer, I would want to know who of you is working on enterprise level, so really enterprise huge applications. Okay, so I think you know this pain, or? That's great. So I want to help you today. So, and the answer for me was completely taking a different way of thinking. And the playground for Angular was helping me a lot. Because with the playground for Angular, you're developing the components in an isolated way. Not anymore this huge, heavy application where tons of components are loaded. No, the playground helps me to just focus on my component, which I want to change, and it's just bootstrapping this component. So I have at the end a really lightweight component application. And now imagine, I'm changing something. How does it take? It's really quick. So the next thing is scenario-driven development. Somebody hear about this? One person. Ho. Okay. It was for me new too. So the playground is another way of developing, because you develop your concentration completely of your component, and this component has different states. In the playground, we call it scenarios. So you have a component, for example, if I change the state, I need to show a button. If I change it to this state, I need to show something for deletion or whatever. And this is called, there are different scenarios. So you develop step by step your scenarios and you can walk through them really easy and really fast. This is the good point. You don't need to remember your state. You have to through some actions to reproduce the state. No, it's just I have a list at the end and I can go through all the scenarios, which I will show you later. And how to set up the playground. It's quite easy. Everyone of us knows this command. It's ng-add and Angular playground. And there's a schematic behind it. Just set up everything what you need. And then just run npm run playground, and that's all. The playground is started on the port 4201, so you can even start your application in parallel. So how does it look like? How can I now create my scenarios for a component? And this is called a sandbox in the playground. And a sandbox is nothing else like a function, a helper function. I give the helper function my component, and then I can say what I need, because we want a lightweight application. It's the same with testing. The testing at the beginning with the testbed is really stupid. It doesn't know about anything. So I have to give him all the modules, what I need for my component, that it still keeps really lightweight. And I have all the possibilities. I can even write mocks for my provider if I have maybe a smart component or a container component. I can do everything here too. And now the really easy part is, how can I create my scenarios? So there's a chain with the function add, and I can just create step by step all my scenarios. Here, for example, I have my component and just say, hey kitty, and it is shown with ng content. The next one, I want to have some data binding. I can create the data binding directly in the template. It's possible, but of course, normally we need it much more complex. And therefore, you have a context object, for example. There I can create my data dynamically with a function or just like this. You can do what you want, really. It's really powerful. And to see something, of course, let's do some action. I prepared something. The cool thing is with the playground, you can deploy it. It creates a build, a production build, which uses service worker that you can use it or embed it in documentation or something. It's pretty cool at that point. So in my example here, I have 4 components. And this is how it looks like when you start the playground. It just recognizes, scans all the files which has .sandbox.ts and tells me what I have here. And then for mobile, I have the support of this menu click here. And then I have a view over everything. So if I click, for example, on default, I have a picture here with one of my 5 cats. I'm addicted to cats. And there's a shortcut with Control-P, for example. Then I have this list, and I can step really quick over all of them. And he's bootstrapping for every example of the application. And I can do it really quick. So you see how lightweight they are. And even if I have an enterprise edition of my application or the size, it doesn't change on the something in the concept. It's the same. So I can really go through all of them. And I can even create my pages inside. But be careful that you don't put too much modules inside, because then at the end you have, again, this huge application. It's not meant for this. And yeah, this is how it looks like at the end. I can go through over, and I can easily develop on my scenarios. If I have to bug fix something, and the bug was related to my add description button, I know exactly this is my scenario. I can go through inside and I will change something and see if everything works. So that's almost everything about the playground. Of course, it's much more powerful. You can read about the dog. You can find there everything. Yeah, that's all. I hope you can now boost up your development. Thank you.
Yay.